All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Bird Dog to Intern with Ivan Oberon. This is Thursday already, January 30th, if you guys can believe that. Already blown through the first month of the year already. I hope you guys wrote down your goals and an action plan at the beginning of this month, at the end of the year. And hopefully, you guys are a couple of steps closer to attaining whatever it is those goals are that you set. Now, if you haven't set goals yet, let this be a moment of conviction for you guys. And we need to start writing your goals down every single day. All right. I want you guys to start doing that. If you haven't done that, I won't call on you. I won't make you call yourself out or anything, but start doing that. And if you don't know how to write down your goals or what to do there, then let me know. Shoot me an email, or if I get enough of you on this call that need some help with that and want to know how I do it, then just put a comment in there. And if a few of you say you want me to do that tonight, then I'll go ahead and do that tonight. But if not, then just email me. We can get together, and I can show you how I do it, how I recommend you do it, and why I believe it's so important, and why I do it on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day, even though I do miss from time to time because I am human, and I travel and I do a bunch of different things. So, but it's very important that you guys do that. So, welcome to 2014, and at the very least, I hope that you guys have set some big goals for yourselves. That's one of the keys here is hopefully this year you are setting goals that are so big and so far beyond what you have previously believed that it's going to cause you to really kind of push that envelope and expand that level of belief within yourself, in your mind, and what you think it's possible and potential for you to accomplish. Because if you don't start there, then really you're not going to get anywhere. So thank you for being here tonight. We're going to go probably 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, depending on how vocal I feel and how many questions that you guys ask. But I want to catch you guys up on a few things. Of course, do some Q&A and see where you're at with things. The first thing I want to address is make sure that you can see my screen. And on my screen, you should see one of my profiles. I do see many new names on this call tonight. So if we are not connected on Facebook, which is one of the mediums that I use a lot to communicate quickly with people, go to my the page that's up right now, which is basically just ivanoberon.brandyourself.com. For those of you listening on the podcast, it's IVAN. Last name is OBERON. .brandyourself.com. That'll pull up my Brand Yourself profile. You can read a little bit about who I am, what I do, and on the left-hand side is a direct link to my Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google Plus. At the very least, connect with me on Facebook so that you can ask me questions, so that we can correspond, because that's going to be one of the easiest ways that we can talk back and forth. So please go ahead and do that. Add me as a friend tonight if we are not already connected. Okay, that's going to be your first call to action. Go and add me as a friend tonight, because we want to remain accessible to you guys and be able to help you in this and whatever it is that you're doing. Secondly, if you're not part of the actual Bird Dog program yet, then the next thing that you need to do is go to c2creia.com/bird dog program and sign up for that. You'll get kicked out the 10-minute task, a little bit of an explanation on what this is all about, how to source leads online, and what that looks like. And I'll do a very quick breakdown of what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're going to get paid, and all that. So the particular or primary strategy that we're focusing on is what's called a myriad of different things. You can call it owner financing, you can call it lease purchase, contract for deed, rent to own, all those different things, that terms that people are familiar with. In actuality, what we're putting together is an installment purchase contract, which is in compliance with the IRS guidelines so that it becomes a bona fide purchase from day one. Okay, so that's going to be one big difference between a lease purchase or lease option, rent to own, or all of those other things that are out there right now, which have been popular for many years. The problem with those, if you understand, is that they are set up for failure from the very beginning. You're giving people an option, a way out, a way to not fulfill on ultimately what it is that you want and what you want for the seller, and that is that they complete a successful cash out purchase of that seller's home within the specified contract time. Okay, so if that didn't make sense to you, let me know. Good job, Milton. Milton just took action and added me on Facebook. Love it. Congratulations. Kudos, whatever. Not congratulations. You've won the lottery. We are now friends. No. So anyway, so hopefully that makes sense to you guys. What we want to create here, so that it's a no-brainer. And when you guys start doing this and making calls on your own, which is ultimately what the plan is, what my goal is to get you all to a certain level where you can lock down these things on your own. But ultimately, man, I totally lost my train of thought. I was looking at comments and it distracts me. So what we're doing here is creating a win-win situation. We want to differentiate ourselves from what experience other people have had and what other things and other offerings we know are being made available right now by other people in the industry. Okay, so by doing it the way that we do it with a contract for deed, installment purchase contract, where the deed does not convey, so there's never any conveyance of any documents or anything like that. The sellers and owners always keep complete control of the property until the final cash out takes place. We're doing that so that it is a win situation for the seller. Okay, so they have a buyer, committed buyer. The people that we talk to, the people that we source, the people that we qualify, and we get a lot of calls for rentals. We get a lot of calls for lease and all these different things. And we have to qualify the person, let them know what the program is about. And once they understand what that program is and they're committed to coming in and essentially being locked into the property from day one and working with us to qualify for conventional mortgage financing during the contract term, only then will we set them up with a property. Only then will we set up a viewing if it's a property that we already have under contract. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Then they have to complete an application so that we know that they're serious. They do have to pay a little bit of money for that application, and that gives us all of their contact information. We collect their IP address. We do all these different things to provide a safety net for the seller before we ever send somebody out, because the last thing that we want to do is waste our time. Okay, and that's one thing that you guys need to learn, and that we will teach you, is that your time is your most valuable asset. I don't care if you're doing this full time or if you're working a job full time and then you're doing this part time. You want to get into it and get out of that rut or that daily 9 to 5, whatever it is that you're doing, and maybe wanting to get away from or expand or just create something better for yourself. The last thing that you want to do is waste your time. So I'll teach you how you pre-qualify sellers, buyers, how you talk to them. That way you don't entertain people for free for an extended period of time. Because believe me, people out there, believe it or not, they're lonely in many cases, and they'll let you entertain them for 45 minutes or an hour before you even get anywhere. And you don't want to do that, because your time is your most precious asset, is the one thing that they are not making any more of. Okay, so qualify, pre-qualify, get things out of the way. Make sure that you're dealing with a viable prospect, whether it's a seller or a buyer that you're talking to. Right now, we're focusing on sellers until you guys understand that, get comfortable with it, because dealing with buyers is a completely different animal, even though that is ultimately what we want to do. So if you're already doing the 10-minute task, if you're already sourcing leads, and you've already gone to c2crea.com/bird dog program, signed up, you understand what the process is, and then once you qualify a lead and you're forwarding it to my deal at c2crea.com, then I'm essentially getting those leads. I'm calling on these potential leads for sellers, and then I explain to them the entire program. I mean, and you guys have already in this call heard me use some of the terminology and verbiage and things that I use during those calls to explain to our sellers what it is that we're doing, to get them on board, to get them to understand why we're working for them, how it's a benefit to them, how they never pay us anything for anything that we do. And there's so many things that are a plus and a win for them that I get emails, and you'll have the same thing. I got an email this week, I believe it was from Regina, that, man, this is like a no-brainer. This is why aren't people doing, why doesn't everybody say yes? You know what I mean? So it's set up to be a win-win situation. And something that we get quite a bit is, it's too good to be true. And you guys have to understand that, especially on Craigslist and online and different lead sourcing that we do, that's completely free, online. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to drive for dollars. You don't have to spend any money marketing. You don't have to do any of those things, which is one of the things I like about it. And I'm sure one of the reasons that you guys are getting involved is because all it requires is a investment of your time. And that, at the very least, is something that you need to be ready to invest if you want to do anything with real estate. So people are jaded. People have been scammed. People hear about scams. People, get notified all these different things like, beware scams, beware scams, beware scams. So their radar are already up. So you're a stranger. You got to understand that you're a stranger when you're calling them. They're a stranger to you. You don't know them from Adam. They don't know you from Adam. So the very first thing that you'll do, and I know most of you are not at the point where you're making calls yourselves yet, but I want to get you guys to that point. And for those of you who feel that you're potentially ready to get to that next level, to maybe pre-qualify a little bit better before you just send leads and whatever, let me know. Send me an email, ivan@c2crea.com, and say, hey, I'm ready to start taking it to the next level. I'll send you some if you haven't already seen them, I'll send you some calls you can listen to, some seller script, basically a whole detailed outline of what it is that we do, and some action steps so that you can start getting more comfortable. And so we have an agreement and an understanding of, you're going now from bird dog to intern. Okay, you're interning for me. So any properties that we lock down, that you get a yes on, or that we, you get a call and you say, hey, I need you to come in on this call and we'll do this together and whatnot, and collect the information. You're submitting all that information to me so that I can complete the contracts and get them sent in and do all the marketing and do all that stuff. That's going to be the virtue of our relationship. And if you're ready to get to that next level, let me know, and then we'll work a little bit closer together, more one-on-one, and giving you more information to get you to that next step. That way, now instead of getting a fee, like a bird dog fee, now you're going to be sharing in the profits with me. So that's ultimately the goal, is to get you guys all to that level. Okay, so hang on, let me take a drink real quick. Thank you. So the next thing that we do, of course, is build rapport, or the first thing. Okay, here's one mistake that I see people do all the time, and a mistake that I made for a long time. And hang on a second, I have some comments too. I don't want to forget you guys. Okay. Okay. Quick question. I'm curious, when you call a seller, what do you say in the first 30 seconds? What is your lead in? All right. Thanks for that question. And that's basically what I was about to get into right now, because I made this mistake, and I've seen a lot of people make this mistake. And here's the thing. So when we talk about the seller script, some of you have seen it, some of you have read it, some of you are probably using it. And that's how I got started too. Reading the script, listening to the phone calls. How do I set myself up? And a big problem that happens, especially when you get nervous, you're not sure, how it's going to go, what questions you're going to get hit with. You're not confident in your skills or knowledge base yet. So what you do end up doing is you essentially get on the phone and you tell them why you're calling. Okay, so that's always the first thing. So they answer the phone. Hi, my name is Ivan Oberon. The reason I'm calling is because is regarding the property you have available on Craigslist, or something to that effect, or wherever you source that lead from. So in most cases, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, how can I help you?" Or, "Oh, okay, whatever." And say, well, one of the reasons for my call is that you were in communication, either email communication with so and so, and I understand that you may be open to a lease purchase, owner finance type deal on the property. And then you wait for them to say yes, no, whatever. I would never do a lease purchase. What are you talking about? And that has happened to me before. So I'm just like, man, why'd you even respond to that email? So you get a bunch of different responses, right? So the tendency for people to do at that point is to essentially just get into the whole seller script and get through it as fast as they can. So they're almost reading it off. And the problem with that is that now you start sounding kind of scripted, and you don't have a conversation. You don't let the seller get a word in edgewise, and you don't give them any cues like, how does that sound? Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Something like that to keep them engaged. And ultimately, what you want to do, if you understand psychology, is get them saying yes, yes. Do you see that as a benefit? Does that make sense to you? Do you get what I mean? All those are leading questions, and in most cases they'll say yes. And if you understand the psychology of selling and sales, the more you can get somebody to say yes throughout a conversation, the more likely they are to go forward, because subconsciously they're saying yes, yes. They don't think they're saying yes to you or yes to anything else. They're just saying yes. Well, yeah, of course I understand that. I'm a smart person. You spoke fairly slowly and intelligently. Yeah, of course I get that. So that's the whole point of having a conversation. So my first suggestion to those of you who are using that script, and those of you who will use it in the future, is read it over and over and over and over. Understand the information, and then make it yours. Okay, make it your own. You're using that as a template so that you better understand what it is that you're selling. But it can't be a script. You have to make it your own. And don't lie. Don't ever lie. Don't ever make stuff up, because that's the last thing that you ever want to do. Now, what you do is you leverage off of other people's experience, expertise, and whatever life experiences or whatever. So that you say, my partner, my team, my so and so, my whatever does this or has done that, or our experience has been this, based off of my experiences, based off of other people's experiences, based off of things that you've heard, things in the script, things in the calls that you listen to, that sort of thing, so that it's your own and you make it a conversation. Because the first thing that you want to do is build rapport. So, Michael, to answer your question more directly, what do I do? What's the lead in? The lead in is that. Okay, so first, you tell them why you're calling, you identify yourself, what you're calling about, and then you're pre-qualifying up front by asking them, I understand that you're open to such and such, what you want. And if they say yes, okay, then that's when you continue. And after that, I basically say, hey, well, yeah, what can you tell me about the property, or why are you moving, or are you living there now, or whatever, right? Because now you're asking them open-ended questions, and you get them talking. And again, the first thing that you want to do, or the best thing that you want to do in any situation, because everything is sales. Okay, that's one thing that I hope you guys understand. Everything in life is sales. You're either being sold or selling something, and it's not a bad thing. That's just the way it is. You're being sold or selling something, and the best way is to listen twice as much as you speak. You ask leading questions. You control the conversation by asking questions. Okay, that now you're giving them the ability to speak, and so they feel that they're in control because they're the ones speaking. But what they don't realize is that they're giving you control, because they're answering the questions that you want answered. But they feel that they're doing the talking. So of course, now you're such a great conversationalist, right? Because you let them talk all they want, but you're leading them, and you're making sure that you're not wasting time. So that's the other thing. One of the things that I always do, and you kind of get this by instinct sometimes. I did a call today. Yes, the key word, conversation. I did a call today for a lead Regina sent me today, and she was hounding me all day long. She was hounding me. I sent you a lead. I sent you a lead. I sent you a lead. Not realizing that she's there's like 40 some leads in front of her, but it worked, and so it caused me to call on this particular lead. Plus, she also said it was over $3 million, so that gets me excited. So I called on this lead, and you look at the ad, and of course, when you're sourcing leads and ads to email, you're avoiding realtors, brokers, property managers, all that sort of stuff as much as you possibly can. But what you realize is that many of them do not disclose that they're realtors or brokers or property managers, etc., because they've realized at some point that they get less calls in many cases that way. So they'll do that, but you got to be smart, because you have to understand that the reason we don't deal with those people, and by and large, is that one, they're usually deal killers because they don't get it. They're myopic. They don't see the opportunity, and two, they're not the decision maker. Okay, so regardless of how pumped up you get them about who you are and your program and whatever it is, they're not the decision maker, so they can't say yes. You have to talk to the owner or the actual seller. So in doing so, I called and I started the conversation, and it was a very unique house. So it was easy for me to say whatever it is about the house. But I just asked her, I said, oh, by the way, are you the owner or are you an agent? And it's disarming. It's not threatening or anything like that. And she, oh yeah, no, I'm the agent and blah, 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 blah. So right there and then I knew that I'm not going to be going into full detail. I'm not going to be going into all these different things. And what I did was I told her a little bit about who I am and why I was calling. But then I suggested, you know what, it would be a very good idea for us to do a 3-way call with the owner. Now, who can, well, man, I don't like the lack of interaction sometimes. I like being in front of people, but who can tell me why I worded it that way? Now, the reason I worded it that way is not asking specifically for their contact information. I wanted to do a 3-way so that she understood that I'm being transparent. I'm not wanting to cut her out of anything. I want her to be involved. What you guys have to understand is when you are dealing with a realtor, if you can get the realtor on your side, then they are the trusted advisor already. Now, whether they're competent or incompetent, whatever it is, you have your own opinions about realtors. I have mine. Some of them might align, but the reality is that somebody engaged them and essentially signed a contract with them in most cases, and if you don't validate that, then you're calling them an idiot. Whatever it is, you're under your breath, you're calling them an idiot. Why did you do this? So you have to understand that in their mind, they have to believe that this is their trusted advisor and they will take their advice. And so if they are on your side, and this has only happened to me once, okay, so don't think that this happens all the time. The guy, actually, I told him the thing, and he's like, oh, you know what, here's their phone number. That's great. That would totally work for them. And that's somebody who actually takes their client's best interest in mind and not their own. Okay, but most of them won't do that because they don't get it. They don't see how they're going to get paid. They don't see what's in it for them, and that's really what they care about. And one of my interns has been working and working and working, and he was working hard. He was sourcing all kinds of leads, and he was not getting anything done. He wasn't getting any properties under contract. Wasn't getting anything. You know what? It's just like, man, you've been doing this for long enough. I've taught you all these different things, and you're still not breaking free of that mold. And part of the problem with him was that he was primarily, probably 95% of the calls he was making were to realtors. He had this goal or idea in mind that that one golden goose agent or broker was out there, But he was going to find them, and he was going to work with them, and he was just going to be a flood of warm leads, right? Because now they're coming from a trusted advisor, and they're going to do typically what the trusted advisor says. Yeah, this is a good idea. I think you should do it. We'll do it. We'll add this to our repertoire. And so that's what he was doing. And nothing. I mean, he went through hundreds of leads and not a single contract. And I kept telling him, gently advising him. I wasn't quite ready to smack him over the head, but he had to learn his own way. And so he did. And he took my advice, and he started making other things, and he was calling me, and he was texting me and Facebooking me when I was on a date with my wife, and he knew I was like, what are you doing? And well, I'm here, and this person, and they're hot and ready to go. And then, okay, so where's the contract? No, they're not. And so after weeks of doing it my way, he finally got his first yeah, okay, they want a contract. And then of course I gave him, here's all the information you collect. You send it over. We do this together, and you're dialed in. So that's one of the same boat. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what boat that is, but get out of it apparently, because it might not be the right boat to be on, Michael. So that's the thing. So avoid that if possible, but always qualify. Always qualify. And in some cases, you'll know right off the bat that they are the owner. Now, I won't ask until the end when I've closed the transaction. I'm getting the information that I need to complete the contract, and then I just put it out there. I was like, I have to ask. I know you are, but you are the owner, correct? And yes, yes, they are, because they have to be the ones. The owner has to be the one to actually execute the contract. And then you can even ask, do you own it in your personal name, or do you own it in a different name? Now, so if it's a property that that they've had tenants in, or that they may have been an investment property and maybe not their personal residence, in some cases, those who are smart, if it was an income producing property, they're not going to own it in their personal name. They might own it in an LLC. So you want to know and make sure that you find out that information, and that's just part of the conversation. All right. Any questions up until this point? All right. So the goal is to get you guys to that point to where you're making phone calls. And those of you who are considering it or are almost there, look, everybody is scared their first time, their first few times, their first few weeks, whatever it is, because you don't know, and you're not going to have all the answers. Okay. You're just not. And that's okay. The idea here is that you are honest and you validate the questions. If you don't know an answer to a question, don't make something up. Don't make yourself seem like an idiot by making something up, because people can see right through that. You validate the question. That's a very good question. And you know what? That hasn't come up in my experience before, but I'll get my partner Ivan on the phone, and we'll take care of that. And then you either, and then you go to the next thing. Is there a different question, or you move on, and then you say, okay, once you address all the questions that you can answer, then you say, when would be a good time for us to follow up with my partner Ivan? That way you capture the lead. You don't just throw away the conversation just because you don't know the answers to some questions. So and that's kind of how you handle it. And you set up, either do a turnover, which is just a sales term where you turn it over to me, and then I come in and answer the questions and work to close it, or you say, hey, let's follow up and do a call together, and then get their answers, and get a couple of times that'll work for them, and then we'll go ahead and do that. All right. So quick comment. So you ask the sellers if they are into doing owner finance, and I get the answers, I'm not sure, or maybe. How do you suggest we take it from that point? All right. So what I say, what I use is, I understand that you may be open to an owner finance or lease purchase type of an arrangement, type of deal, something to that effect. Now they say yes, no. If they say no, then obviously you're done. But I'm not really sure. I might consider that. where you take it from there is okay. Do you understand the way those programs work? Do how that looks to you, or whatever? Is there something specific? And then they'll say, well, no, I'm not really sure how it works. And a confused mind always says no, guys. Okay, so that's where they're starting from. And by and large, people have their pride, and they don't necessarily want to admit to you that they don't know something. So you make it easy for them. You make it easy for them to still retain their pride and their intelligence. And you just ask them simple leading questions like that. And then you say, okay, well, this is the way that it works. And then you just kind of go into how our program works, and you tell them how it's unique and why it's unique compared to what else is out there. Now, most lease option agreements, or rent to own, which you may be familiar with those terms, or those products or strategies, typically are not set up for failure from the beginning, because they don't have the commitment of the person occupying your house to have that pride of ownership, because they know that they own the house. Now, the way that we do it is we only deal with people that are committed to buying your property from day one, and they are committed to proceeding with the installment purchase contract, which is in compliance with the IRS guidelines. Now, would you say that's a better deal? Would you say you would be more interested in that? Would you say that that's of more of an advantage to you as a seller? You know what I mean? So again, you're asking them a yes question. You're asking them a question that the answer is yes. Okay. Now, sometimes you get people that want to be shrewd and whatever, and they're, well, I don't know, maybe, but the answer is yes. Okay. So that's the question that you're asking. You're asking a question that you're going to get the answer yes for, and that's strategic. Okay. You're not doing anything shady or anything like that. You're just learning how to effectively communicate with people. All right. Now, the next thing I want to show you guys is, just so you understand kind of the process, is the very first thing is you source the leads, which is what you guys are doing. Okay. And that's teaching you the process so that you understand, how to fish for yourselves. Right. So we're not giving you fish. We're teaching you how to fish. And that's the first process. That's how you work your way up. It's free. Of course, it's an advantage to you. Of course, it's an advantage to me. Again, it has to be a win-win situation. So the advantage to me is that you're sending me leads, and I'll call on them. The advantage to you is that you're using my experience and all the time that I've spent, I don't know. I mean, if I could quantify the time spent in learning the strategy and everything else, I mean, I couldn't even tell you. And let me segue away from, with that for a minute, is that many people have the impression or the idea that they'll participate in something, they'll buy a course, or they'll do something for a couple of weeks, and they get all frustrated that it hasn't produced the results that they want, and they're not millionaires yet. Okay, get those thoughts out of your mind. If there is any thought like that in your mind, get that out of your mind. Okay, real estate, whatever strategy you use, any business, any viable thing in real estate or anything else is not a get rich quick scheme. It takes time. Okay, all these overnight successes or self-made whatevers and this and that. What you don't see is the years and years and years of trial and error and failure and long hours and all those different things. Typically, when you see somebody pretty successful in what it is that they're doing, it is typically a culmination, the aggregate of actions, consistent daily actions, typically for a period of about 10 years. Okay, when you really see those people who really stand out. Okay, and you can track that stuff yourselves. You can see where you've been. They say hindsight is 20/20. Well, you can see, even though you weren't seeing it in the process, how you ended up here today. Okay, good or bad, all those experiences, good or bad, that the aggregate of all those experiences and all those choices that you made yourself in your own life is the aggregate of how you're here today. Okay, good or bad. The key takeaway from that is that for you guys to all take accountability and responsibility for all those things, regardless of how much pain you're in right now. Believe me, I've been through it. and I've been through some stuff that it's all relative. Obviously, my dog is not bigger than yours. My wolves aren't greater than yours. It's all relative, and it's all the same. And the magnitude of at which we feel it is the same to all of us while we're going through it. The point that I'm making here is that you're not alone. We've all been there. We've all been down a road, been screwed. We've been all these different, the paycheck to paycheck. Don't know where this is going to come from. Why did my dad have to die? Why did this guy rip me off for $400,000? All these different things that happen in life and in business. It's an aggregate of choices that you made, whatever reason it is, good or bad. I went through a painful divorce in 2009. Now, I didn't want it. I didn't choose it. I didn't do anything. Well, that's taken away from the point. Of course, I did things. Well, the point I'm making here is that I wasn't the one having the affair. I wasn't the one that filed. I wasn't the one that went through all that garbage. But I had to take accountability for even that. I have to take accountability if somebody hits me on the road. Because when you take responsibility and accountability for the position that you're in your life, that gives you power to change it. It gives you control. You're not a victim. Okay? I am not a victim. Don't play the victim card. Empower yourself to make changes. Understand that those things are things that you can change as long as you take accountability and control for yourself. Okay? So anyway, getting off my soapbox now. So what we do is we source those leads. We call the leads. Once we get the person down the line, then we send them a non-exclusive option agreement. Non-exclusive means that they're not bound to us for anything, which is another kind of selling feature of what we do. Now it's obviously a catch-22 because there's fallout. The people will rent their properties, people will sell their properties, people will do different things in the meantime while you're marketing it before you ever find a buyer, and then you don't get paid on that house, which is okay. That's just part of the business, but it's something that you guys need to understand. So once that happens, we send out the contract, and the next thing that you have to do is make sure that you follow up. Okay, the fortune is in the follow-up. If you think that you're going to close everybody the first time around, you're kidding yourself. Nobody does that. Okay, and even if you close them on the phone and they request a contract from you, it might take 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 follow-up calls to get them to actually execute it. And yeah, it's frustrating and it's a waste of time and all these different things, but it's really not a waste of time as long as you get it executed. And since I've been doing this, I got one contract executed after 2.5 months of follow-up. And most people wouldn't do that. When I was in the insurance business, where I really learned the power of follow-up and that the fortune really is in the follow-up, it took me over 2 years of follow-up to get this one account that I got. So that's really where it's at. So that's, if you guys have to create an effective follow-up system for every single contract that you send out or call that you make. And of course, the way that we're going to work it, you if you're making calls, you're going to follow up on the calls. Once we get to the point where you're sending me information to submit the contracts, then I will take care of all the follow up for you guys. Okay. Or for us, really, because at that point we become partners. Now it's not a bird dog coaching thing. Now we're partners at that point. All right, let's see. Quick question. Do these calls have a follow-up call after the initial call? All right, so maybe I answered that for you already, Jonathan. Yes, every time. I always leave a message if I get a voicemail, and I always follow up whenever I don't get a contract executed. Always follow up. Or somebody might ask you for more information. That sounds interesting and whatever, but can I get a little bit more information or whatever? And we have that we can send out as well. So after that happens, then we finally get the contract executed. The next thing is to start marketing the property. And I'll show you what it looks like when we start marketing it. All right. Hopefully you all can see that. Now the properties are at get.rent2own.it. It's a pretty nice site. It's taken quite a bit of effort and work and time to create. But you can see it's got a nice scrolling thing, and a bunch of my properties. There's only 3 of my properties that have scrolled through there. The cool thing is that you can narrow by investors, you can narrow by state, you can narrow by monthly payments, property type. So when somebody goes on there and they're looking for a specific payment type or state or location, they can go on and see the inventory that's on here. And as you scroll through, you can see all the different listings, and you can click through the site to find more and more listings. Now let's go to me, because this is really all that most of you care about, because some of these properties, for, well, I'm not sure if 1 or 2 of you guys think have a contract executed with one of the leads that you sent me. So if you go to rent2own.it, select Ivan Oberon and click on there, you'll be able to see all the properties that I have currently available, okay, or under contract. And currently it's 26 properties. And this is what I need you all to do that are on this call, whether you have any properties executed right now with me or not. This is one of the ways that you're going to give to get, and you're really going to help everybody, including yourselves, of course, make money. So go on get.rent2own.it, click on my name, go through this area, and start sharing every single one of these properties through your social media. If you have Pinterest, come on here, install the pin button up here. And then that way when you can come here, you click on each individual property and then pin it, create like a owner finance rent to own board on your Pinterest, and start pinning these properties. Block out the address, just leave the state and the city and the monthly rent. And then, so they can contact me. You can send them my email address, share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share these things, because you guys are going to help expand the reach of these properties. And the more eyes that these things get in front of, the faster that these things will attract a buyer so these properties get sold and we all get paid. And remember, if you're not getting paid, it means I'm not getting paid. So I'm equally or probably more motivated than you guys, believe me, for us to get paid, because there's a lot of work that I put into this, and that Vincent puts into this, and that the teams put into this. And so we want to make sure that it's as profitable to everybody as possible. And we're also putting together a mastermind call with Vincent on a regular basis, so that we can really engage and really get you guys stepping up and get into that next level. But hopefully this makes sense. So like I said, you can just click through, and then more and more properties will continue to get added to this. When we sell some, or when we here, I'll let you guys see one other thing here. This particular property right here is a place in Indianapolis. It's been remodeled, rehab. Nice property. And I currently have a buyer for this one. They stroked out the first $1,000. They're putting another $1,000 down to finalize the contract here in the coming week. And then by the 22nd of February, they're remitting the rest and moving in, and they're going to start getting the utilities in their names and all these different things. So of course, then this property, once that does take place, will come down. But the goal here, the idea here, is to continue filling the pipeline. The more properties we have, the more opportunities that are going to be created. And the idea is a minimum of two a week. That's the goal, a minimum of 2 a week. We'll keep the pipeline full, and we'll keep the opportunities coming, so that we can start making high 5-figure paydays on a weekly basis, right? So my goal is to get up to doing $40,000 in a month. So that's, and of course, you guys will all benefit from that goal, based on the roles that you're playing. All right. So this is a pretty cool site. And then if you guys know anybody that needs to buy, needs to sell their properties, then of course you understand that we have a custom home finder program where people can go in and enter all the specific criteria that they want, all their must-haves, can't-haves, school districts, square footage, bedrooms, baths, all those different things. And then they can start sourcing properties themselves online, different rental listings and different things that they see, and bring them to us. And then we'll go out and contact the sellers, negotiate, let them know that we have somebody who's interested, basically qualified, and all that stuff, and get them into a home. So that's another opportunity that you guys want to keep your eyes open for, is if you're finding or you run into somebody who would be a potential buyer, bring them to me, because that's really, that'll shorten the period of time between the time that you source that and getting paid, because now you're going with the buyer first, and that gives you some additional negotiating power when you go talk to a potential seller. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, and let's see what else. Any questions, guys? Anything else? Any comments? What is the website again? It's get.rent2own.it. Okay. Get.rent2own.it. Now you might say, well, I thought we weren't doing rent to own. I thought we were, we do contracts for deeds and installment purchase contracts and so forth. And yes, that is true. That's ultimately what it is. But what you have to understand is you're using terminology that people are familiar with and might already be predisposed to. People might not understand installment purchase contract and contract for deed, where the deed does not convey, and what does that mean? And you're using all these different things. So you have to use terms that people are familiar with and comfortable with and understand, just to get in the door, and then you explain the reality of it and the benefits and what it really, how it really boils down. Okay, so that's the reasoning behind that. All right. Any other questions? Come on, I know you guys got them. Negotiating, talking to sellers. How many hours a day do I spend on this? How do you quit your job? I don't know. Ask me something. If you guys want to talk about, here, let me share this other thing. Let me take a quick drink of water. All right. So let me give you another bit of advice. Now, you want to be a real estate investor. Now, this is obviously a good way to start, but maybe you didn't want to start here. Maybe you kind of fell into this, or you heard about it, or you knew that it didn't take any money to do it, and you didn't want to spend any money. But many of you maybe wanted to get into flipping houses or rehabbing, or same thing, or doing rentals or acquiring rentals, or whatever it is. You want to get into real estate investing, and you're still afraid to openly talk about it because maybe you don't want to listen to the naysayers. You're afraid that somebody will shoot you down, and it will happen. Or you don't want to put anything out there until maybe you've accomplished something because you don't want to look the fool, or whatever your reasoning is. Let me give you this piece of advice. If you want to be a real estate investor, start acting like one. Start embodying that. When people ask you what you do, you tell them, I'm a real estate investor. You don't tell them, I'm a truck driver, or I work retail, or I'm a realtor, or whatever it is. I don't know. Whatever it is that you guys do, you tell them I'm a real estate investor, and then I also drive a truck. Or then I also, work at Macy's, and I also whatever. Start embodying that and talk about it. Learn what it is that you were wanting to get into. Okay, because that's crucial. There are 4 basic elements that you're going to need to be a real estate investor. One of those is time. Another one is money. Another one is credit. Another one is knowledge. Now, you don't have to have all of those at once, and they don't necessarily all have to come from you. But the time is crucial, and you have to have that. You have to invest it in the knowledge. Why is the knowledge so important, even if you've never done a deal? Knowing a strategy and how it's supposed to work from start to finish will help you speak about it confidently, with energy and enthusiasm, with a belief that this is your destiny. Your destiny is to be a real estate investor. This is your future. That's your legacy. And you have that conviction and that belief that that's what it's going to be, and that's what you are, and that's how you're going to build your future. So you have that belief and that conviction. Now you pair that with the knowledge of a strategy, how it's supposed to go from start to finish, and then you can speak of it confidently and intelligently. It will draw people to you. Okay, that's how I started getting investors to invest with me. I made it a mission and a goal to raise private money for my deals. And till this day, I've done every single deal, every single flip with private money because I talked about it intelligently. I had a passion and a conviction. Even though I had never done a deal before, I made it my mission to understand the process from start to finish so I can answer any basic question that was asked of me and sell it. Because nobody wants to be your guinea pig. But if you sound like you know what you're talking about, and you use the concept of leverage, and you use words like my team and whatever, because I was plugged in like crazy. I mean, one of the reasons that we created Coast to Coast RIA was so that we can expand our reach and our network and our resources and our connections to high level people, and we've done that. And of course, that only creates more opportunities. But you got to talk about it, because if nobody knows what you're doing, nobody's going to pay you any mind. You're going to miss out on opportunities. And here's your biggest problem as an entrepreneur, small business owner, or whatever it is. Your biggest problem is not the product or service that you have to offer or what you can do for somebody else. Your biggest problem is obscurity. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what you're doing. You got to get out there in a big way, which is why we have such a large social media presence, which is why we go to expos and events, which is why we do seminars and classes and teach and do all these different things and give back in so many different ways. It's one of the reasons that we're doing the F3 project to flip a house for charity, is because we want to do good for the communities and for people, and at the same time we want to use that to be able to get more exposure, to get our name out there, to get out there while doing something good. So you guys got to talk about it. You got to get out of that mold and create the opportunities for yourselves. And then when questions come up that you don't know the answers to, just say, you know what, let's talk to my partner Ivan, and I can help you through all those things. But you have to talk about it. Okay. What's a good number of leads to shoot for? Well, it depends, Jonathan. If you're handling them all yourself, if you're handing them off to somebody else, the quick answer, I suppose, would be as many quality leads as possible. What you don't want to do, of course, is get so many leads that you can't get to them. And 4 weeks go by and you haven't gotten to that lead. That doesn't always work very well. So as many as possible that are manageable. Now, of course, I manage a lot of leads, and sometimes, in most cases, I don't get to them every day, and that's okay. Okay, that's okay, because this isn't like we're bidding on a rehab property where we're competing against 20 other investors. Okay, in most cases, these houses aren't going anywhere. They haven't gone anywhere for a while, in many cases, and so if it takes a few days to respond, you're going to be fine. And how do I know that? From experience, because it's not uncommon for me to me to be cranking, and then I have to travel for 4 or 5 days and I can't get to leads, and then it's 12 days before I get to this lead and I still get a contract out of it. Okay, so don't be freaked out if you can't respond immediately. Of course, do it as quickly as possible. The other thing, of course, when you guys are sending me leads, and I'm to the point where I'm not going to respond to every single lead that you guys send me. Okay, now if there's something that I see wrong with the lead, or you forgot the phone number, or there's some bit of information missing, or I see that you could have done something else, then I'm going to give back some constructive criticism and feedback. Or, of course, you'll know when I do have sent a contract out and I do get one executed, then you'll of course know that right away. But just the leads that you're sending me, just understand that it's a numbers game, and the majority of them are not going to convert. Okay, but it's a numbers game. You got to fill that funnel. Hopefully that answered your question. Can I give you the URL for the Bird site to join the Bird Dog program? Milton, you can go to c2creia.com/Bird Dog program. And that's C, the number 2, the letter C, REIA.com/Bird Dog program. Sorry. Yeah, and anytime you hear us say C2C RIA, it's always when it refers to the URL or anything, it's always going to be the number 2. All right, c2cria.com/Bird Dog program, and then you enter in your information. It'll kick you out. You already are connected with me on Facebook, so if you have any questions, let me know, and we can rock and roll. All right. How many hours do you spend looking for sellers? Steve, that's kind of the point of this program. I don't spend any time looking for sellers anymore because I either do cold calls or I am handling all of your great leads that are coming into me. Before I started this and before I started doing this, I would spend several hours a day. All right. About how long does it take you to call on the leads we send you approximately? I'm going to give you the canned attorney answer. It depends. It depends on various things. Okay. One, it depends on how many leads are in front of you. Two, it depends on if I have any travel taking place. So for several weeks, I was getting to leads, usually within a few days, because not that I'm not calling, I'm constantly doing leads, but that's about how quickly I was flowing, because at one point I had over 80 leads at once. So it takes a little while to go through those things. Okay, these conversations, guys, just so you understand, go from anywhere between 5 minutes and over an hour. It just depends on, obviously, if it is an actual lead, and if it's not or whatever, I always cut to the chase and get off the phone as quickly as I can. But if it is an actual lead and there's a conversation, I mean, it can take an hour. So you just figure that, okay, with the number of leads, it's a full day. I do this full time. Up until recently, I was managing 12 rehab projects. Now I'm down to 8. I also am setting up projects for turnkey rentals for some of my investors. We're putting together April in Atlanta, which is going to be an awesome event where we're actually going out there to do some flips and to buy some cash flow properties. And we're inviting a bunch of attendees to come with us to learn the system, get plugged into our power teams. Gene Norton's going to be there. Keith Grogan's going to be there. They're both going to be teaching. Pete and I are going to be there. It's going to be a fantastic event in April that we're setting up. And we do our RIA meeting. So don't think that I don't have a full plate, even though I'm committed to this and I'm rocking this. Usually will take, and it depends. Like, there's some people that are actually calling people and talking to people and getting them hot, and they don't send those leads over unless they know they're hot. And then they tell me, hey, I got this hot lead. I just got off the phone with this guy, and he understands this and that and the other thing. Go ahead and call him and close him. He's expecting your call. For somebody that takes that extra initiative and due diligence and takes the time and effort and energy, they're going to be pulled up to the top of the list, okay? Because now I know that it's a solid lead. A lot of these things that come through, a lot of these leads that come through aren't necessarily solid leads. I have to convert them into that. And like I said, some people will even respond and they don't really even, I would never do that. So just understand that that's kind of the process. Next question. Once a contract is executed, what is the average time until a buyer is found? You're asking good questions, but again, there's no crystal ball. It can happen as fast as a couple of days, or it can take months. It just depends on how high in demand that area is, that property is. You find the right buyer, you find the right person, which is why I say, if you guys run into people that are interested in moving, they don't qualify for conventional financing, they don't know of anybody that can help, send them to me, because that will get you paid that much faster. Okay, because now we don't have to find the buyer. We already have the buyer. Now we got to find the house. And we know that it's not that hard to find a house. I mean, if we're locking down contracts without a buyer in hand, just with the promise of we're going to market this and find you somebody, just imagine how much greater conversion rates we will have, and we do have when we have buyer first. All right, comment. I met a private lender through a bandit sign I put out last week. Good job. We're looking at rehab properties this week. This would never have happened if I hadn't followed C2C's advice. Coast to Coast Ria's advice, because I listened to you and Pete. I headed for my first flip. Thank you. Hey, and thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you for just showing us that the information that we're putting out there is actionable information and is dependent on your action. So I commend you, Michael, for taking action, because you can listen to us all day long until we're blue in the face. And Pete, of course, never gets tired of talking. So he'll keep talking to you and talking to you and talking to you, no problem. But if you don't take action on that information, nothing will ever happen. So thank you for the compliment and for supporting us and for appreciating that. This is our time. We're investing this time. You guys aren't paying me for this, and I'm not asking you to. We're doing this because we understand and believe in the principle of give to get, and we all give and we all get. Sometimes it's money, because sometimes it's got to be money, right? We got to eat. We got families. We got responsibilities, and that's okay. But it's people first. So thank you for saying that. All right. How do I get to be an intern? You gotta be committed, Mark. You gotta talk to me in person, and you gotta be willing and ready to start making some calls and to get to that next level. We can have a conversation as far as what information you already have, what information you already know, what additional information I can give to you, and what the understanding, what the agreement will be for you to become an intern with me, because that's an option, guys. Okay, this isn't mandatory. You don't have to intern for me, but if you choose to intern for me, then there's going to be certain guidelines and certain expectations from you by me, and from me by you. Okay, and we have to hammer those things out and make sure that it's agreeable to both people. And of course, we understand that I'm only going to create mutually beneficial situations. All right, I'm really ready to go from being a bird dog to an intern. So what is it going to take? All right. For those of you who are at that point, email me, ivan@c2crea.com, or private message me on Facebook. And we'll go into more detail. We'll get on the phone and have some conversations. And part of it, guys, okay, so this might differentiate whether you want to do it or not. Part of it is going to require you to get to the point where you can get on the phone and close deals. Okay, that's part of what it's going to take, and I'll work with you to get you to that level, and work together to do it and teach you that extra skill. But you have to be committed to learning. You have to be committed to doing it, and to be willing to take your licks and cut your teeth and sometimes get beat up on the phone. All right. So I spoke with a realtor I know yesterday, and she has clients she can't finance and is interested in owner finance strategies. She is curious how she would get paid if we work with her. Let's get her on the phone, Michael. Set it up, man. She'll get paid. We get paid. All right. Set it up. We'll talk on the phone. There's always going to be a mutually beneficial situation. Okay. We're not looking to cut people out. If a realtor or a broker can be a good lead source, then we want them to get paid. Just like with any business or any other strategy on here. I had a conversation once with one of my investors. I was taking them through, there was one of the first deals that they were going to do with me. And so they didn't fully understand the process and everything, but I was taking them through my breakdowns and showing them the numbers and all these different things. And we came to a figure of like $10,000. And that was, well, they questioned that. Well, what is that? And that was my project manager. And they were getting that fee, and they're like, man, they questioned it, right? Like, man, that seems like a lot of money. And what I did was I redirected their focus to the bottom line number, which was the profit and essentially the rate of return that they were going to be receiving. And I told him, I was like, are you comfortable with that number? Well, yeah, it's a good number. Okay, so then what do you care what other people make? Seriously. What do you care if you're comfortable with the money that you're going to make and the profit that you're making? What difference is it to you if somebody else makes $1,000 or $1,000,000? Everybody needs to get paid, guys. Everybody plays a part. Everybody plays a role. Your realtor, your project manager, your contractors, your property managers. All those people play a role, and we're all a team, and we all need to be recompensed adequately. And that's how you create and generate and build and sustain those relationships, because everybody needs to be treated fairly. So anyway, another soapbox situation. So yeah, so they'll get paid. And today we had a call. A realtor actually called on one of my properties, and it was great because I think this is going to turn into a very good situation because he gets it, and it's one of those guys that has set up a fully vertically integrated system that I have said that I wanted to set up from the very beginning. He's a realtor, he's a broker, he has a title company, he has lending, a mortgage company, all in house. So they're completely vertically integrated. They handle all aspects of the transaction, and he's got people that again who don't qualify. And the guy that he was calling on, he has a client. Call him on one of my properties. He has a client that makes over $200,000 a year, has the money. He's about to close out on a different property that's gonna net him a huge amount of profit. So he's qualified. He's ready to go, but he doesn't qualify for conventional mortgage financing. He makes over $200,000 a year, has an above 700 credit score, and doesn't qualify for conventional mortgage financing. So that's another mistake that I don't want you guys to make. Don't talk to people on the phone and tell them, yeah, we work, we get them on credit restoration and all these different things, because one, it's a dirty word. Okay. A lot of people will take that negatively and move on and hang up. And that's what happened to one of the people that I'm helping. And he told me that happened. And that you don't want to say that, because credit is not always the reason that people don't qualify for mortgage financing. We had a client that owned his own mortgage brokerage and couldn't get his own loans done. Okay, there's a lot of reasons why we're at 90% of the population who do not qualify for conventional mortgage financing. And I mean, I don't qualify. Most entrepreneurs don't qualify. We had a guy also that made over $400,000 a year, but on paper he showed that he made $35,000 a year, and he's not going to qualify. We had a guy that had rental properties, and they wanted him to show 12 months reserves for every single one of his rental properties. And even though he made over $200,000 a year, it blew him out. So there's a lot of different reasons why people don't qualify right now. And that's where the opportunity is, because you can do good for other people and do well. I've had people cry when I explain to them what I do, and come to find out they're in that situation. They don't qualify. They're on a 36-month plan. They're struggling. And man, it's so nice to know that somebody gets it. You know what I mean? Because people are hurting. People just, we've talked to people that are living in freaking hotels in the interim with families and with kids and pregnant wives and all these different things. And they're living in a hotel because they're picky. They want to find a house, and they don't want to rent. And so they're kind of in limbo. So you run into those people who are very motivated to move on and buy. And that's part of the game, is helping people. So, all right. Let's see. Another comment. Have no problem with talking with people. I was a closer in the car business for 14 years. Brilliant. Let's do it. All right. Yeah, I also worked the car business, and it was the worst year of my life. Definitely, I learned some things. And I learned that I would go back to school and get my insurance licenses after that experience. It's not very conducive to family life, as I'm sure you can attest, Jonathan. But let's do it. Yeah. So hit me up. All right. Anything else, guys? I hope you've enjoyed the call. I hope has been inspirational and motivational and educational. And that's how you need to start your days. That's how I'd recommend you start your days. You wake up early enough to where you can read something educational, inspirational, and or motivational, and have time to write down your goals before you start your day, before your phone starts blowing up, before you get to the 400 and some odd emails that you wake up to, like I do every day, and then there's another 300 by the middle of the day. And so you got to get that stuff in. If you do, devotionals, do your devotionals, do all those different things, and get the day started off right. Focus on your highest level tasks first, so that you have a sense of that you actually completed something in the day. And let's rock on, man. You guys are ready. It's 2014. It's going to be the best year of your lives. This February 2014 is going to be the best month of the to date. So let's do it. All right. I'm getting thirsty. Thank you for listening to me, guys. We've been on here for a little over an hour. I am open to questions, suggestions, comments, whatever it is. If not, we're gonna close this thing down for the night, and I will catch you guys on Facebook, in the email, and next week on the call. Anything? All right. Now that we had some silence, I'm hungry. Yeah, I'm hungry too, man. Thanks, Michael. Yes, sir. All right, Mark. Very good. Once again, if we are not connected on Facebook, go to my profile and add me as a friend so that we can stay connected. And again, thanks for being on the call. Let me know if there's anything else that I can do to help. Glad to be of assistance. And thank you guys also for respecting my time. All right, guys. Great call. We'll talk to you next week. This call, along with all the others, are going to be uploaded to our website at cdcrea.com/podcasts, where you can catch all our previous webinars, as well as our radio show. And if you're not listening to that yet, I would definitely suggest that you listen to it. I would love for you guys to be on. You can stream it live from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time if you go to cdcrea.com/AM 1510. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.